younger years, John?
Well, just very near 40 feet. There was just, there was one work I did about him quite regularly, the Buchan. She would be about 36 feet or something like that. He worked at the sea net about it, but there's two sea net boats, 40 feet boats, but they worked out of Peterhead. Because the Boddam harbour that time wasn't convenient. It was a tidal harbour, you see, and it was inconvenient, you know, because to keep a boat afloat. So it wasn't handy for a boat of that size to be working with a boat. But of course, there was a few boats went on the year round out to the Swalands, you see, they fished for cod in the winter time and that, you see. Well, there would be maybe half a dozen at that time, maybe 6 of them. Fished all year round. The boat was too weak, and the uncle we went with, he had to stop the drifters for ill health, you know, it was a long time. He wasn't working at all, and so he just went in the summer time, you know. My mother named a lot of work because my father and my brother, they were in the drifter, my older brother. They had gear, here and gear, and mother named these nets the main disease besides shielding and bearing muscles. And we were working about 5 lines a day, which was a lot of work, you know, between getting them muscles shelled, they get down the harbour, they kept the muscles in the harbour, and what they call the Scots, you see. Well, you go down and collect them every day and take them up and get them shelled and lines baited and the lines ready after they come in and that. So it was a whole day's work, you see.
Been a lot of hustle bustle, I suppose, even though it is a small community in that days.
Well, at that time, practically it was in a village apart from a few quarrymen and that polishing works up at the roadside there for that garage is now, you know. There's a few men worked up there, masons and polishers, you know, polishing the stains and that. But, and then there's some folk works in Peterhead, you see, carpenters, but there wasn't a lot of boat building at that time, it I was speaking about, because the boats weren't in, it was just drifters at that time, so they never built drifters in Peterhead in my time, steam drifters, you know, although they have built one or two, but then after they went over to motorboats, Forbes was built in George Forbes, and I think there's an Erfin built, you see, quite a few.
You're always supposed to be pretty busy when you come to think on it. If you were going to the small line fishing and your father was going to the drift net fishing, so your mother must have been like overworked between times.
Well, my sister she was the oldest of the family, and she worked at Abdi to work, you see. And then my older brother, he was in the drifter with my father. And then the younger brother, he was in the boat, small boat, he, see, my uncle. So it was a lot of work, you know, get 6 days a week. Away. So it was Monday morning to Saturday night. It was usually about supper time on Saturday before you get finished. And you get ready for Monday again.
Did you get to help, although you was in a small line boat, did you get to help your father with the drift nets? When he came ashore and that?
Well, I've seen us getting help with him. They used to, at that time, they spread them on the grass, you know, to dry them and that, and used to give them help to gather them up, you see, mark them up and take them up the house. And it was a 3-story building, and we would carry them up the top, right up the top. Yeah. Top of good side stair and inside stair. So it was really a busy life when you was at it, right enough.
So was your father's nets made in the garret in the house?
Aye, in the garret.
Aye. And about the small lines, were they in the kitchen?
No, well, we didn't. I never often took them in, but I've seen us gone up to the top right up to the garret with them, you know, and raiding them, you see, and that, and with washing house, you know, and the women folk would have been in the washing house. It was a bad day. It was a fine day, you sat outside, but there was a lot of days that you couldn't sit outside. But we used to put up kind of shelter, kind of wind cheaters, or what you'd call them nowadays, to sit in the back of them, you know. But oh God, it was a lot of work, you see. There was no washing machines at that time of day. So that was a lot of work for the women and all.
So what's your earliest memories of Boddam here, to do with the fishing and the work?
Oh well, in the earliest that I can remember was just the boats going to the Smalllands, out of Boddam here, again, and the drifters. The main it was in the drifters. They just went to Peterhead and worked out of Peterhead, you see, because there was no, they couldn't accommodate them in Boddam here, you see. So there was no big boats as such in my time in Boddam here. The big boats were all kept in Peterhead. See.
And you still occasionally pass a time yet to be getting a tribute and a small boat?
Well, I've been the Ripper this summer, like, in the days it was suitable, like, so. It's a fine ride, to be honest, nice summer's day.
If what size of boat is that?
It's about 21 or 22 feet maybe. A diesel engine, of course, no, it's hard diesel engines, no.
So it's very similar in size to the boat that you
well, it's a wee bit bigger than the boat that we went in. It was our petrol paraffin engines. Kelvins, our Kelvin engines. Great engine. But this boat is a Leicester diesel, which is great engines. Great.
If it changes the view see now, for that earlier days that you went to fishing, in the day for example?
Well, there's one great change, is the price of fish.
Aye.
I mean, it wouldn't have mattered. I mean, I've seen landing 5 boxes, bad feather fish, lovely haddocks, for 12 shillings a box. Else, well, I get out after we stopped that, we get started, in later times, started the crabs again, fishing.
The partons?
The partons, you see, and well, it was a job too. You send away your crabs to Billingsgate, and sometimes you're getting a blue label, we're all condemned. So you didn't get anything for the crabs, and you had to pay the carriage. So
would this have been maybe damage en route for here to Billingsgate?
No. I mean, it was with the train it was sent them, and we think that if they hadn't got a market for them, they just got the inspector along and he just condemned them as unfit for human consumption, and that was the end of the story as far as we were concerned. But so we did quite a lot of that, but ultimately we got a market in Brighouse, which is about 6 miles from Leeds, and we got a sponsored race. Just really through my wife had got it, and because she belonged to Glasgow, and she thought it was terrible sending crabs away and they did nothing for them. So we went to Glasgow on holidays, occasionally, and she saw crabs for sale in Lewis's in Glasgow. And she wrote a letter, and they put her onto the man that bought their shellfish, our kind of shellfish, who was in Manchester, a Mr. Plant. So it was a while before she got a reply to our letter. But when she did get a reply, Mr. Plant had been on holidays. That was the reason for the delay. So he told her that it was a Mr. Thompson, a Brighouse, they got all their crabs. So we got in contact with Mr. Thompson, he said he got his crabs for sea houses, but he was willing to give a trial, and there was a bit of negotiations for the price, you know. So ultimately got it settled 6 shillings a stone. He paid the carriage. So we sent a lot away, and he was delighted with the crabs. They were much better crabs than the crabs that he was getting for sea houses. So there was there were 3 boats or so going to crabs, and so he told me that he could tell his boats to send on their crabs. So we are sent our crabs to Mr. Thompson, and then he said he thought he'd set up a factory in Boddam. He looked at a bit ground at the harbour, but it was going to be quite expensive to get the drains in and that, you know. So he gave up the idea. So there was a place at Boddam Harbour, it was Jane Kippers, and it went up for sale. So the rest of the fishermen said to me, "You should write Mr. Thompson and tell him that this factory's up for sale." And so I did, and he negotiated. He bought the factory and set up boilers and that for boiling the crabs and processing them down there. So that was much handier for us, you see, because that was just taken out the sea and direct up the factory, so you wasn't losing anything with dead crabs or things like that.
It's a great achievement as well, because it must have brought a bit extra money to the village and employment as well.
That's right.
Aye. So previous to that, John, did the rest of the fishermen export their fish as well, before the crabs? Or did they just sell them locally to...
no, we just went our fish to Peterhead Market.
Peterhead Market.
There was no really buyers as such in Boddam. There was lads that just maybe sold a few fish, you see, but they just bought it for Peterhead. Although we sometimes landed some in Boddam privately, you know. But no, we just used the Peterhead Market for when we was going to small lines, you know, in the summer and the winter.
So, what do you see as a difference? This is not on the coast of fish now, working at the fish in your earlier days and working today. Is it still the same? Give me actual job you're doing.
There's nobody beats small lines today. You know, we used to, in the winter time when we went, we used to bait log worms, you know. And some of them boats work at mussels, but log worms was a much better bait for cod, you know. You could more fish with log. The difficulty was then is sometimes was you had to send them off here. A lot of it came from Anderseer, and sometimes when it was a suitable day, you had a good bait, and you couldn't get out when you was using a log. And then it would come when it was stormy and you couldn't get out. But latterly, when we were at him, we had a chill of our own, you see. We had a chill installed in our store. And that overcame that problem because you could keep him fresh in the chill, you see.
Your bait.
Your bait in the chill, you see. And so that kept it fresh. If it was a bad day and you couldn't get out to work him, then when the weather was suitable, you had the bait, you see, to the end. Of course, we baited mussels and you see, again. We didn't use logs solely, but log worms are a better bait for cod in the winter time. And there's quite a few, well, a lot of boats, maybe 4 or 5 would do it in the winter time for fishing for cod.
So it was mainly cod that you fished for in the winter time?
Well, latterly it was, but as I say, when we started, there were some boats went all the year round, and they fished with mussels all the year round, and you see, and So you could quay haddocks in the winter time too, you see. Maybe you'd a wee bit further out to go for the haddocks than you get for the cod. The cod was very often just close in, you see, and it goes so far off for them.
So is a ripper more or less something that's come up in the last 20, 30 years?
Oh no, it's been a
it's
long thing, you see, but the fish are, I would say, are very scarce here now, very scarce. I mean, we used to do quite a lot of fish in the river. Oh my.
So does it not justify line fishing now, John?
No, I wouldn't. No, there's nobody here. There was one boat trying, but great line, up to some of the rakes this year, and I think you got 2 cod, and some hagels, eels, and 2 or 3 ling, but it wouldn't justify it. No.
So how far off is the rakes here now? Of course there's a submarine, which, how far off is it?
Well, it took us, it's about 7, I would say, between 7 and 8 mile, you see.
Off, is that the easter?
Southeast, why?
Southeast,
and then there's one what we call a 4 miler, and then there's one that we call a corn beefer. It's as far off for the 4 miler as the 4 miler is for the land. See, and then there's 2 rakes, what we call the bay rakes. There's the bay rake and the out bay rake. The bay rake's a small rake, but the out bay rake's a big rake. You see, but there's not much fish at these rakes now. There used to be a lot of fish there when they were discovered first. I mean, some years after the war, when they found them out, and there's cod, big cod that you got there. Oh, then there's one just south of Cruden Bay, maybe 1.5 miles off of there, you see. 1.5 miles off Cruden Bay, the headland of Cruden Bay there. It was a cargo boat that sunk there, a small cargo boat. And we've seen a lot of fish for there too. See, the fish seem to shelter up at the rakes or something. And